Okay, so this is going to be a very ranty video, and because we're going to be discussing art, it's going to be hard for me to not sound pretentious. It's one thing I hate about discussing art, but damn, it's annoying how disposable the film industry is becoming. So I'm sorry. The best way I can pace out this video is to discuss the film industry and then talk about the big boogeyman devaluing art. Spoilers, it's AI. Drop my ice cap. Let me know if you've been feeling the same way about the film industry and AI down below. I know AI's reputation around art is rightfully in the gutter, but I'm curious if anyone else has also been feeling that the film industry is becoming devalued and art is becoming more disposable. Also, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs before the end of March. So let's start with that industry. I kind of really hate what streaming has done to movies and TV. Severance's weekly release gave me the idea for this video. Normally with streaming, when I talk about a show with people, we have to figure out what part we're on. Once that's done, it becomes a one-sided conversation. As the person who knows more, can't really say anything and has to follow the other, especially if it's a show you don't want to spoil at all, which is fine. I like it when my friends experience art I enjoy. Letting them do the media equivalent of trauma dumping is something I'm okay with. But when it's something I'm itching to discuss and the person I'm talking to is ahead of me, our dialogue is going to be worse. Smaller stuff within the episodes are way more likely to get swept under the rug because one of us has to wait for the other to consume 10 hours of content before we can talk about it. Or if one person is taking their time and is able to talk about the smaller stuff within the episodes, but the person who did finish the show can't really talk about the theories or anything else because they have the full context. Some things might matter to them more with the ending in mind. And hell, they might not remember some of the smaller stuff. I would bring up smaller examples from the second season of Severance, but streaming has changed how we interact with shows, and doing so could spoil it for half the audience. At least in my life, it is pretty 50-50 if people are waiting for the show to finish before watching it or watching it as it airs. I think discussing TV is at its best exactly like how discussing sports is at its best. The following day, hey man, did you catch the game last night? Sure did. It was a crazy one. Did you watch the new episode last night? Oh dude, it was so intense. It helps that that's how TV was written. One of my buddies has started watching Twin Peaks. He's only talked about it a little bit because I still haven't watched it yet. Soon though. Very soon. One thing he mentioned is how it feels like he's supposed to discuss it with his coworkers the next day and think about the episode until the new one airs. Streaming has almost completely eliminated that, but it's still a fundamental core of how TV is written. This season of Severance has made me fall back in love with weekly releases. It's fun being able to discuss the show with people in the ways that my buddy was alluding to about Twin Peaks. Do you know how many times I've talked to somebody as it's airing and one of us has said, you know what? I was thinking about the last episode and I realized this. A lot. Like, pretty consistently with multiple people. I'm enjoying it so much that a big part of my season 2 review is going to have sections covering each episode that I recorded the Sunday after they aired. And it's been really fun revisiting each episode on camera. I haven't edited it together yet, but I think it's going to be fun seeing my thoughts evolve from episode to episode. That loss of a more meaningful dialogue is one of the reasons why I believe TV is becoming more disposable. Another one is why I think streaming initially killed weekly releases. Netflix really cares about its numbers and it wants you to move on from shows quickly, to the point where they're making things designed to have a more passive viewing experience. And apparently a common note from Netflix, and I'm about to quote an article here, is have the character say what they're going to do so viewers who have it on in the background can follow along, which is only hurting the writing in movies and shows. If you're operating under the assumption that your audience isn't paying attention, you're gonna have to constantly be restating stuff that you already said because you're expecting your audience to miss it. So if you are casually viewing shows as the article says, you are just being told the same info over and over again because they don't trust you to retain it. Like, it's kind of annoying when you're watching something and it doesn't expect you to be paying attention, so it repeats itself. Like, I don't think those who weren't paying attention are magically going to retain the info that they missed because you repeated yourself in a longer way. And those who are paying attention are going to get annoyed because every single time new info is presented to them, it's done so after they repeat old info over and over and over again. Because it's assuming you're not paying attention and they don't care enough to make it so you should be paying attention. Which on both ends comes from a place of not valuing art and just making this stuff more disposable. I'm so tempted to keep going over this repeating bit, but I really have to move on. And I think the only reason why they're designing stuff that way is because they don't want people rewinding to see something they missed, which means it's going to take them longer to start watching something else. It's why as soon as you hit credits, all streaming services try to move you on to something else as quickly as possible. Hey, whoa, no. Don't look at those people that we're trying to replace with AI. Go watch Friends. You like Friends? Go watch it. No joke, I finished watching Zone of Interest recently, and one of the recommended shows was Beast Games. That is easily one of the most tone-deaf recommendations I've ever seen from a streaming service. Dude, at the start of episode 2 of Severance this season, it said, stay tuned after the credits for a behind-the-scenes look at the show. And then it minimized the screen and told me to watch Silo as soon as the credits started. I'm getting mixed signals here, Apple. Do you want me to stay or leave? Let me sit and think about what I just watched. Stop forcing more shows down my throat so your internal numbers can go up. Like, I'm not trying to watch Mr. Beast do Squid Game stuff right now, Amazon. Mentally, I'm still here. And meanwhile, Prime Video is sitting there like, Mr. Beast! Credits provide the perfect outlet to sit and think about what you just witnessed, which is why I never skip credits when I'm playing a game, especially when I'm reviewing it. I think the frustrating thing is that Netflix drops it all at once because they want people to move on, but the other services don't drop episodes weekly because they care about the discussion it fosters or letting the audience fully digest an episode before jumping into the next one. They like having people subbed for 3 months and the free advertising that they get from said discussions. I get that the goal of all of these things is to make money, so from the top, that is going to be a driving factor. But when it's hurting the art like it is, I'm not a fan of that. And all I can do is just like sit here and cross my arms. For the record, I'm not criticizing people who skip the credits. I understand why someone wouldn't want to, or if you really want to move on to the next episode. The viewer can do whatever they want. My issue is that the default from the services is to skip the credits. One of my longest running beefs with streaming services is the skip intro button. I hate it so much. I'm tired of capitulating to poor attention spans. And that goes double for increasing the playback speed. That's something I really disagree with. If the creators wanted it to be played at 1.5 times speed, they would have made it that fast. I remember I was watching Casino Royale with my cousin and he started fast forwarding through the intro and I was like, whoa, dude, oh, nah, you can't be skipping this, man. Much like with the end credits, it tells the audience, hey, you shouldn't care about the people who made the thing that you're watching, or respect the effort that it took to make this title sequence. I get if you're binging a show, you might not want to watch the intro 10 times within a weekend, but the episodes are paced with that break in mind. Sometimes it can be awkward skipping intros too. Some shows would end the cold open on a cliffhanger, leading into the title sequence and maybe a commercial break. But on streaming, you skip any of the anticipation that the break was supposed to be building, especially with older shows. Or legay content, according to my last video on streaming. I can't believe I missed that spelling error. Making stuff harder to watch is also contributing to how disposable art is becoming. Dune Part 1 leaving Crave here in Canada around a month or so before Part 2 is one of the most insane moves I've ever seen. I know so many people who didn't see the first one try to watch it before Part 2 came out, or they wanted to see it because of the hype around it, and they just kind of threw their hands up in the air because it wasn't on any streaming service. I bought Part 1 on Blu-ray just so I could watch it with my family because they hadn't seen it. Kind of a weird extension of that, but I feel like movies are leaving theaters way too quickly. Like Sonic 3 was the biggest movie from last December, and it barely lasted a month before coming to streaming. Are we moving on from things faster than we used to because we want to? Or because companies want us to consume more? I get there's a lot of things to watch and we only have so much time, and going to the theater is a lot more expensive than it used to be, but I don't think the people that are making stuff have shorter runs care. Making us move on from movies and shows so quickly hurt them in the long run too. Like, I feel like everyone moved on from the second season of Squid Games very quickly. The biggest show on the planet 5 years ago had a second season in December, and I stopped seeing people talk about it before the new year. I think the first season will be the last time so many people will talk about a show that much, because we're not giving the art time to breathe anymore. I'm not saying that we need to be talking about a show forever, but the bursts of hype that we're seeing come and go too quickly. Like, I wonder if Game of Thrones would have reached the same level of popularity if it dropped on Max? Whatever they're calling their streaming service now. Guess no one talks about House of the Dragon, so that's a good scale. Dragon pun. I get that there's a lot of shows and movies out there leading to a crowded market, but you know what? At least it's made by humans. AI is flooding every market and making it worse. Whether it's low-effort shorts, reading through the same 16 Reddit posts in 3 parts, but they only end up uploading 2 of the 3 parts, so you end up jumping from account to find the end of the stupid story that's probably made up anyways. After TikTok got banned in the US, I stopped seeing AI videos and clips from TV shows in my feed. I'm not gonna lie, that makes me miss Commonwealth TikTok. AI has ruined social media at a rate that I don't think anyone expected. There are way too many AI videos filled with AI comments. At this point, whenever I hear an AI voice on TikTok, I'm swiping past it. I'm just done consuming content not made by humans. Hell, if you search up any game on Amazon, you can very easily find a sea of awful AI book guides. My favorite one is this one for Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I don't know what's worse about it. This fire-breathing dragon for a pirate game, the font they picked for the cover, or the fact that the game isn't even out yet, so I really don't know what this book is about. If you want a solid video about those books, I recommend checking out this one my buddy Camobot made. But the main thing I want to talk about with AI is AI art. Whenever I see people rightfully criticize AI, it's usually about the human or environmental effects. Drew Gooden's "Why are we in such a rush to replace people?" is something I think about every single time I see AI. But I want to put my film school background to use and say why AI art isn't art. There's a fine line between imitation, inspiration, and theft. First off, imitation. When I was in film school, I had to write a spec script, which is essentially a fan fiction where you can prove you can write for that show. Spec scripts are proof that's something the writer can do. If I got a staff writing job on a sitcom, I would be writing in that show's voice, not mine. I wrote it on Letterkenny. For the B plot, I chose to follow the hockey players, and the coach for the C plot, as those are things I have life experience with. I grew up playing hockey and have met guys who talk exactly like them, and have seen coaches exactly like him. When you read that spec script, not only does it feel like an episode of Letterkenny, but you can also see me in there on a way bigger scale than a film school student. You ever notice how you can tell when an episode of The Simpsons was written by Conan O'Brien? Excluding the fact where he basically wrote all of the best episodes, it's actually unfair how funny Conan is. He's imitating the voice of The Simpsons, along with using things from his own life and building off of previous works. At the core of those episodes, it's still Conan. At the core of that Letterkenny script, you'll find me. Imitating is something that is very common around art and is perfectly valid. For inspiration, later on in the program, I had to develop an original series and write a pilot. One of the leads I would say is very much inspired by the hockey players in Letterkenny, and the other is the straight man archetype from a lot of shows that I like. But when you look past the surface level inspiration, you can see parts of me in each of the leads. And like, not in a self-insert-y kind of way. Personally, I believe a lot of very obvious self-insert characters kind of just come from poor writing. One character had similar struggles to me, but done in different ways, and the other would make jokes like I would in situations. So despite the fact that I'm taking inspirations from Letterkenny, Arrested Development, and other sitcoms I love, it's still me in there. Much like how when you watch Conan's late night show, you can see the giants he was standing on, but it's still undoubtedly Conan. For the record, I'm not comparing myself to him at all. I just love his episodes of The Simpsons, and he was the first example that came to mind when I was writing. Michael Schur is another great example of imitating someone else's voice on The Office, and then taking inspiration from previous works that he likes to create Brooklyn Nine-Nine and The Good Place. Why did I just go through personal and massive Hollywood examples of imitation and inspiration? Because AI filters you out no matter what. If I fed an AI all the inspirations for the show I developed and my lived experiences, have it create the stories I would want to tell through that show, give it the general sense of humor from those shows and myself, it would only filter out all of the human voices. AI doesn't know why I find the inspirations funny. I can explain it to it, and we all know a joke landed when you have to explain why it's funny. It's turning those lived experiences into data. It's turning the humor into data. It's turning the inspirations into data. The artistic process cannot be replicated with AI because it relies so much on data. That's why AI art is stealing. It has no lived experience, only data. It has no feelings, only data. It cannot imitate because it only knows data. It cannot be inspired because it only knows data. It's just a filter that removes the human element and converts it into data. Art isn't data. AI can only steal actual art and regurgitate slop. That's why I believe AI is leading art down a road where it becomes even more disposable. And it's why so many creatives, including myself, find it offensive when people try to push AI content as art. Either pick it up or read the rest of the line before you throw the fucking marker. Either pick it up or hire a human to do the work. And if you don't have the resources to hire somebody to do it for you, or the skills to make something at a level you're satisfied with, learn the skill instead of using AI as a shortcut. When I started YouTube, I saw a lot of people saying that you're going to be making some mistakes and that your early videos will be bad. But those are growing pains that everybody goes through when honing their voice and creativity. That's why my old outro used to be subscribe for more bad content. It was me acknowledging that I was on that phase in my content creation. Trust me, making something that's kind of ass will feel better than making something that's kind of soulless. Because at the very least, it will contain you. One thing I think about a lot when I'm like struggling on like an edit or writing for a video is a quote from Neo: The World Ends With You.
It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone in the world would do it. But hard is what makes it great. Making mistakes is proof that you're challenged. The world is yours.
Trust me, when you pick it up and draw whatever you wanted an AI to draw, film whatever you wanted an AI to film, write whatever you wanted an AI to write, impersonate whatever voice you wanted an AI to steal, you will feel way more accomplished whenever you look back at what you made, even if it sucks. Because you, presumably a human, with human emotions, lived experience, took part in the creative process that makes art, instead of filtering yourself out with AI and boiling all of that down to data. Between everything I'm seeing and honestly every single creative industry and AI, I'm getting tired of art and the artists being devalued and making them as disposable as possible. And I don't like it. Stop it. Because with studios wanting to use AI, things are going to get real bad real quick. Do you agree? Think I'm an idiot? Comment down below. Like the video if I sounded like a pretentious asshat for the last 15 minutes, and subscribe for more content. Follow me on other platforms if you want. Take care, guys.